Welcome to Married to History, where we try to be informative, entertaining, and family-friendly.
Aloha, I'm Christopher. You've heard this already, but in case you've forgotten, I have a fancy piece of paper on my wall that says that I know more about history than most people do.
I'm Shirley. I'm a homeschool mom that relies on good curriculum, Christopher, and Ragtime the Musical to teach our kids history.
Oh, Ragtime, that was good. Our friend that we talked about in the show was in that one.
No, I've had complicated feelings about that one because we knew nothing about Ragtime when we saw your best friend play in it. And it was like after we saw him as Tevye, and he was playing a very similar character. But
he was a Russian dad?
Yeah. I mean, anyways.
There was more to the character than that. Tevye never had any movie star ambitions.
No, I know that. But it's like, that was a dark musical. Fiddler was dark, for sure, too. But it didn't have the same joy that I remember.
Doesn't every musical have a dark scene of some kind where somebody gets stabbed or something?
It does. It was just a very different tone, I felt at the time. But now that I've heard the music, I love Ragtime. Like, recently I've listened to the whole album and I love Ragtime and I wish we could watch it again.
And how appropriate that our friend played a Russian character, because you're going to ask me questions about Russia again, right?
I am!
Okay. Are you going to ask me questions about Russian superweapons?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in case you missed last episode, which I don't know why you should have, when you saw that this episode is labeled part 2.
Some people have lives.
No, I know, but if you see an episode is labeled part 2, then that should be a clue that you should go back and listen to part 1, or else you'll be very lost.
All right, that's fair.
Okay, so here we are, part 2, and we're going to talk about Russian super weapons.
Yay.
What was Russia's biggest super winter?
Winter.
How many countries succeeded when attacking Russia in the winter?
In the winter? None. I suppose it's possible if we go back far enough, there might have been one that did, but I'm not familiar with it.
I don't know why that's so amusing to me, but it's great.
So I want to be clear. It's not just that, the Germans and the French were defeated by snow. So there's a couple of things. So in the Russian winter has had a couple of advantages. For one thing, the armies that invaded Russia were not prepared for it being so cold. They didn't have proper amounts of clothing. They didn't have good supply lines, supplies of firewood and the imperfect clothing, and food, amongst other things, were very, very slow in arriving to where they needed to get, and in many cases were raided by Russian cavalry so that they couldn't actually get to where they were going. In the case of World War II, additionally, the German tanks were not winter tested. Many of them froze. The treads could not move over the snow, or the engines just wouldn't start because it was too cold. Whereas the Russians, all of their tanks were tested in winter conditions, so they worked just fine.
I don't know why that's so amusing to me. Because for certain, snow would stop me. I mean, I get it.
I remember an interview that I heard with a German soldier who survived World War II. Mm-hmm. He had served on the Eastern Front, on the Russian front, and one of the things that he described was it was all about the uniforms. He said the German uniform, it looked very nice, but it was cold.
Aww.
The Russian uniform, they looked so bad. It looked like they were rags and whatnot, but they were warm. It's a common problem when
politicians
function. Yeah, when people that aren't the profession, or when people that aren't about the function are involved, then they're going to care more about the look than the function of the thing.
Right. Okay, so to our actual topic. Okay. So you're explaining the Iron Curtain to me.
Yes.
It's not a curtain.
It's not just a physical curtain.
These countries that were supposed to be a buffer zone. Cannon fodder.
And again, I want to be clear, to the best of my memory, that was a term coined by one guy, and I don't even think it was adopted. It's by anything official or government related. It's just what people ran with. And even then, I don't think they said it all that much. I'm hesitant to... I can't think of very many sources that ever actually used that term, the Iron Curtain. At least not like what we would call scholarly ones.
Right. But maybe just like the newspapers.
More often than not, I want to say I encountered it being called the Soviet Bloc or the Eastern Bloc.
See, that doesn't help. It doesn't help me. It doesn't make any more sense to me.
Okay, so
it's
okay for you to go on calling it the Iron Curtain. Especially if anybody's listening to this, they'll know what you mean by the Iron Curtain now.
I'm just frustrated that I didn't understand the concept.
I think it's one of those things that got ever so slightly out of context, but it's the thing that survived into our generation.
Yeah. It's a really cool visual.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the Berlin Wall part of the Iron Curtain?
Technically,
yes,
but
this is very complicated.
Realistically, no.
Okay.
Eastern Germany. So remember, the Iron Curtain was not a physical curtain or a physical wall. It was that group of nations, that group of states in the middle. Eastern Germany is one of those states. So East Germany is part of the Iron Curtain. And the Berlin Wall is a wall that was built around Western Berlin, which, though being in East Germany, was under the administration of the Allied powers. Well, actually, by the time the wall went up, West Berlin was on its own as Western Germany, not still under, definitely getting aid and whatnot from the Allies, but not under the control of the Allies anymore.
Okay, hold on, pause. I'm sorry. This feels physically painful to me to assimilate this information.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Looking at the stress on your face.
It's painful. I can feel my brain turning to mush, and I'm trying to take in the words that you're saying. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this particular part of history is so hard for me to understand. Okay. World War II.
Yes.
Germany loses.
Yes.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
Okay. I'm getting there. Okay, it's cut in half.
No. It's cut into 4 pieces.
Oh my gosh.
But
it's so painful.
It's cut into 4 pieces.
4 pieces.
A Russian piece, American piece, British piece, French piece.
Okay,
but
okay.
The American, the British, and the French pieces eventually are put together to form what we would call Western Germany, and the Russians keep their one piece, which is Eastern Germany.
Okay, pause there. Okay, so we'll just start with that. Okay.
Do you need to, do I need to get you an ibuprofen or something?
I need to understand this.
This is supposed to be fun, and I'm not convinced you're having
fun.
My
eyes are watering. I'm not crying. I'm just stressed out. Okay, so Germany. No, it's also the laughing. It makes my eyes water. Okay, Germany 4 pieces. But essentially 2 pieces, because America, France, and Britain were buds.
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's all because of the way you said it. No, 4 pieces.
4 pieces.
All 4 of them had their own rules, their own regulations. Yeah, the British, the French, and the Americans were all on the same side, but there were still different rules and regulations in their zones versus the other.
Okay.
There were signs all over Germany, especially in Berlin, saying that, hey, you're about to enter this zone. These are the rules. And they were not always the same rules.
Oh my
so
gosh.
no, it was 4 different pieces for a fair amount of years.
Okay, but...
Actually, I shouldn't say a fair amount of years. I don't know for sure how long, so I'm going to say a fair amount of time.
Okay. But simplify. Perhaps an oversimplification.
It is an oversimplification, but yes, 2 pieces.
Western Germany?
Yes.
And Eastern Germany?
Yes.
Okay. Russia owns the eastern half.
Yes.
Okay. Berlin is the capital city of Germany.
Yes.
Okay. Why... Which side is Berlin in?
Berlin is in East Germany.
It's in East Germany.
Yes, it's not a border town, not even remotely a border town. It is undisputably well within East Germany.
But the city of Berlin, even though the entire city is in East Germany, Russia's piece, part of the city of Berlin belongs to the Western piece?
Yes.
Okay,
you
take
can
it from there.
Stalin was not very happy about that.
Okay, go ahead. Take it from there. Wait, first of all, no. Why?
Why? I'll be honest with you, I don't know
How?
the exact reason, or at least I don't recall. The most logical reason to me is the idea that, well, that was the capital city. Most of the stuff, a lot of the people, a lot of the resources, a lot of the administration is all run from there. So the Allies wanted to keep their half of whatever was in the city.
Then take your resources back to your own countries.
Okay, you can't do that.
Why not?
Because there are people in Berlin that have their lives there. So this is what you're talking
But
about.
you have to go through enemy territory to get to your tiny little half of a city?
They weren't enemies. They were ostensibly allies.
Oh, that's right. They were one-sided friends. Oh. Okay.
So to be clear, Russia did what you're talking about. Russia stripped the heck out of East Germany. All the major technological parts, manufacturing parts, factories, everything to that nature, they stripped out of East Germany and they shipped all that stuff back to the USSR proper.
Okay.
But you can't. So, and there were a lot of people that did flee from East Germany or even East Berlin into West Berlin or into Western Germany because they did not want to get stuck behind in the eastern part of Germany once the Soviets took over. And
So
that
we're
happened.
talking,
That
like-
happened all throughout the existence of East and West Germany. There were constantly people that were trying to get out of Eastern Germany and go into Western Germany to get away from the Soviet Union, or to get away from the Iron Curtain, the Eastern Bloc.
Average German citizens.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is actually one of the reasons for why the Berlin Wall comes into being. So eventually, realizing that a lot of the Germans are leaving East Germany and going into West Germany, the Russians shut down the border completely. 100% no.
Why
Nobody's
do they
getting
care
through
if
here.
people leave?
Because if people leave, it's not just people that nobody cares about leaving, it's the people that are going to breed future communists that are leaving. It's the
But
people
they're
that
not
are...
loyal to the communists right now, so let them go.
They will be eventually.
Beat them into submission.
It's also brain drain. The scientists, the engineers, the people that know how to turn East Germany into a profitable member of the Soviet Bloc, they're leaving too. And that means that even if you don't care about them, every man and woman that leaves East Germany to the West, that's one more Westerner that will potentially have to invade Russia in the future.
But we're
that's
supposed to be allies.
That's one more scientist who will develop a new weapon. One more engineer who will be building and designing new tanks. Whatever
So
the
the
case
war
might
is
be.
over, but it's really not.
The war is over, but the competition isn't. I mean, just like China and the United States today. We're not at war with each other, but we're in competition with each other.
Okay.
So the Berlin Wall eventually comes up because after Russia shuts down the border, well, people stop just walking across the border and start going to Berlin, where it's very easy to cross from East Berlin into West Berlin. And once you get into West Berlin, it's very easy to get on a flight or something to fly you out to Western Germany, where you are safe. So the Berlin Wall goes up for two reasons. Like most walls, it has a dual purpose. It's to keep the unwanted people out so that they would stay in West Berlin and not come into the rest of Eastern Berlin. But it's also to keep your people in so that they do not run away into Western Berlin to continue to flee.
Okay, so the Berlin Wall is a physical wall that goes across the middle of the city of Berlin.
It doesn't go across the middle of the city, so if the boundaries were very jagged or whatnot, but it does go through the line where the Soviet zone and the other three zones ended, and then it goes all the way around the rest of the border of the city. So it's not just a wall in the city; it's a wall that completely surrounds
the
Western Germany.
The Western Berlin.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense because you've got this border between Western Berlin, Eastern Berlin, but you also have this border between Western Berlin and the rest of East Germany. So that's all surrounded.
Yes.
Okay. So the eastern part of Berlin and the rest of East Germany are part of this Iron Curtain area?
Yes.
Okay. Did they use any iron in the building of the Berlin Wall?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I don't know. It seems like
Please,
a revelation.
no. Continue. Explain this to our listeners. There you go. Explain this to me.
So
I'd love to hear it.
So the Iron Curtain is a real physical thing.
No.
Part of it is.
A piece or two of it is. The things that contributed to it are.
Yeah.
But there is no... If I were to give you a time machine and you observe every square inch of Europe, the whole of Europe even, between the years 1945 and 1989, you will not find a single physical thing made of iron that stretches from one end all the way to the freaking other, and yet is velvety like a curtain.
I didn't say velvety. I said like a bead curtain, like strips of iron.
Or that is like strips of iron, beady, like a curtain.
So it's a curtain. No. So when was the curtain pulled back?
1989.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, like other things, I'm sure some people are going to argue that no, it was actually this thing or that thing. But by and large, most of the world, at least that I'm aware of, considers that no, the Cold War ends, the Soviet Union is collapsed, it's all over when the Berlin Wall comes down.
That's the benchmark.
In the late 80s, the USSR is basically bankrupt. Their economy is not good. They've wasted, or I shouldn't say they've wasted. Their economy is not a healthy economy. They can't afford to administer their empire, their Soviet Union anymore.
But how is that possible? Communism is such a good economic plan.
No, it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not.
That was dripping with sarcasm.
There's a reason why all the major powerful people that lived in the Soviet Union, they didn't buy Russian-made watches, they bought Swiss-made watches.
Did they really?
Why? Because the Swiss made a good watch.
They make awesome
and the Russians
watches.
did not make good watches.
They make good army knives too.
So that's an example, but yes, a lot of the Russians that had wealth or position or whatnot, they didn't buy Russian-made stuff. They bought made somewhere else stuff.
Anyway, so their economy is collapsing.
The economy is collapsing, and Mikhail Gorbachev.
Is Gorbachev the guy with the big birthmark on his head?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I'm following.
So, among his announcements is that the Soviet Union will no longer interfere in the domestic affairs of its satellite nations.
So that's those countries, the Iron Curtain,
That's
the
the Iron
buffer
Curtain
zone.
countries,
So he's saying we're not dealing with the buffer zone anymore.
He's saying that they're not going to interfere more, which basically to every anti-communist person in all of those areas, Russia just said they're leaving, they're not coming back. It's your guys' show.
Celebration.
And so, in most of those countries, I'm hard pressed to think of any that at least stay loyal to the Soviet Union or stay communist directly.
Yeah.
Several of them still end up in the hands of autocrats for a time. Okay. But at least in Eastern Germany, for example, even though there were, and this is fair, there were a significant number of people in Eastern Germany that were happy with Eastern Germany, that wanted to stay. Eastern Germany did not want to see the country reunified, at least not under Western influence.
Yeah.
But by and large, the majority of the people, or I should say the majority of German people, wanted the country to reunite. And so to this day, we've got video of the wall being destroyed. Some people go at it with sledgehammers. Some people are climbing on top of it. Some people go at it with heavy-duty chainsaws or whatever they're using, and they're breaking down huge chunks of it. And
David
it's that
Hasselhoff
moment.
was there.
Yes, Hasselhoff was there. It's that moment with the wall coming down that most historians use to signify that is the end of the Cold War. That is the end of the Soviet Union.
And the end of the Iron Curtain.
And the end of the Iron Curtain, yes.
The end of the Soviet Bloc.
Because, like, amongst other things, after the Iron Curtain comes down, after the Berlin Wall comes down, we get access to so many records that even help us in our learning, our understanding of World War II. That we didn't have access to before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even the secrecy part of the curtain is gone.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, and I think I got it now.
Do you?
I think
you got that look on your face.
No, I'm like trying to think, are there things that I'm still missing or that you said that I didn't understand? I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'm good. Okay, so now...
So you understand, it was not a physically
I
made
knew
of
that.
iron
No,
physical curtain. Did you though?
No, I didn't, but I knew
know
it.
that some of these questions are jokes for you, but
No,
every
I
now and
know.
then you worry
No,
me.
that's what I said. Like, growing up, like, I didn't understand it, and so I hear people talking about the Iron Curtain, and I think it's a real thing, and then I hear them talking about the Berlin Wall, and I know that's a real thing, so I'm like, wait, is that the same? The Iron Curtain must be real? What is this? It doesn't make sense, and so it's one of those things that are just stuck in my brain.
So I think the simplest way to say it is that the Iron Curtain was a metaphor, not a physical thing.
Okay.
The Berlin Wall, however, was a physical thing, not a metaphor.
And the Berlin Wall was kind of a physical manifestation of the metaphor, in a way.
Yes, that would actually be fair. Physical manifestation of the metaphor, yeah.
Okay, so Berlin Wall comes down. Russia leaves those countries alone. Soviet Union over. Eastern Bloc over. So now Germany is united?
Germany has been united since, and the USSR no longer exists. It's now the Russian Federation, and many former Soviet Republic states have broken away from even the Russian Federation. The Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire before it was part of the Soviet Union. Now is an independent nation. Moldavia is the same situation. Belarus is another one. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and I know there are others too. These are all nations that have been part of the Soviet Union and part of the Russian Empire before that have only in the last couple of decades gotten their independence.
Okay. Now, but I'm curious about Germany. So how and when did they transition to having their own government? Because they were broken up into 4 pieces, you said. Why did we step away so willingly? Like, okay, you guys can take care of yourselves now. You can govern yourselves. You're united. You're a country. See ya.
So this was the change in how peace was done, and this largely goes off to this is largely thanks to Woodrow. I don't know if I should say thanks to Woodrow Wilson. He's the guy that is quasi-famous for the idea, but it's entirely possible that this was becoming a kind of universal idea before he came up with it.
Well, that's how it goes. Lincoln gets credit for freeing the slaves, but he wasn't fighting the wars, and he did the Emancipation Proclamation, but that didn't really free anybody, blah, blah, blah.
All right, so this is the way that
he gets credit.
This is the way that I tend to trace it. All right, so throughout history, victors have always taken all the spoils.
Yeah.
That's what has happened.
And the winners write the history.
Woodrow Wilson is one of the earliest people that I know of, at least, who tries to adopt the idea and say, no, we shouldn't do that. Doing that throughout history has only led to the losers wanting vengeance, wanting their stuff back, and creating another war somewhere down the line, many generations down the line.
That's really smart.
At the end of World War I, in his 14-point peace plan, among the gist of it, Woodrow Wilson said, all right, we need to very much let bygones be bygones.
Okay.
Restore the land of all the nations before the war began. Give any nations that want it their independence. That means no more colonies. And this was for everybody. France and Britain would have to give up their colonies too and grant those territories their independence. And this was all done with the goal of, all right, we were all in this bad fight. It was bad. It was awful. Yes. Now we need to kind of like let bygones be bygones, or else we're going to risk having some side wanting vengeance. Unfortunately, he got sick during the conference, and France pretty much used that to kind of bully everybody into doing what it wanted to do. Britain kind of sat back at the negotiations because it was just happy to have the fighting over and just wanted to get the thing done with.
Yeah.
And France wants vengeance. France wants exactly everything that Wilson is saying, no, we can't do that.
Got it.
France decides to throw Wilson a bone or two by, like, amongst other things, establishing the League of Nations. But for the most part, no, France exacts revenge on Germany. And later down the road, one of the things that helps Hitler come into power is campaigning that idea of, we're going to get vengeance on France.
So it's all France's fault!
No. The one thing that I've always thought was rather amusing from a vengeance standpoint on the matter is that when Germany conquers France during World War II, Hitler has them track down the very rail car in which the Germans were forced to surrender to France, and he makes the French surrender to him in that same rail car.
Ooh, that's poetic.
Vengeance, yeah.
Okay.
So with that mentality, the idea that, okay, we can't do what we've always done in the past. I do not remember the dates off the top of my head, but yes, eventually the French and the British and the Americans decide, all right, Germany, or at least our parts of Germany, are ready to administer themselves.
Okay.
We're going to back off. Now, they continue to support Western Germany. Money through the... money through the Marshall Plan and a couple of other activities to help out, particularly help out Berlin because it's isolated and surrounded.
Yeah.
The wall isn't the first time that the Russians try to cut off Western Berlin from everything. There are other occasions too.
Okay.
So yeah, I do not know when the Allies let Western Germany take over and establish its own government. And after the Berlin Wall comes down, I am not terribly familiar with the process that Eastern and Western Germany went through to create a single Germany and a single German government. I'm not familiar with all that stuff.
Okay.
That happened in the late 80s, early 90s, and I tend to lose a lot of interest after the 50s. Doesn't say I don't know about things that have happened after the 50s, but yeah, after the 50s, I kind of lose my interest.
I know,
the
I think
older
you've
stuff,
said this before.
The older stuff is of more interest to me.
Okay, it's too recent. It's not historical enough for you.
I suppose that's part of it.
Okay.
Well, it could also just be that it's like, okay, if ever the day comes that I do want to learn more about the reunification of Germany, there are plenty of people around for me to talk to or to write books about it or whatnot. There aren't quite so many people around who can tell me what it was like to have fought in World War II, for example. Those people are dying.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. I feel better now.
Do you?
I really do.
I'm happy you feel better.
I do. I feel better.
I enjoy talking about history, so I always feel good.
Okay. So, is there anything else that I need to know about Iron Curtain, Soviet Bloc, Germany in two pieces, Berlin Wall, any of that?
There's more you could know. Do you need to know? No.
Okay. Anything like really cool that's not going to confuse me, that'll just be like a fun fact?
I don't know about a fun fact, but okay, this is one that often gets attributed to the Berlin Wall. It's said that the wall went up overnight. That is a half-truth. Yes.
Whoa, really?
Yes, the barrier that will eventually be the Berlin Wall, the fortress Berlin Wall, that there is a barrier that does go up overnight.
Like what, like K-rails?
There's it's
tape.
Yeah, there's barbed wire fences that go around all over.
Okay.
There are big chunks of concrete wall, but they are not connected chunks. They're basically like they're like Stonehenge slabs that get delivered and dropped off to help form this barrier.
Oh.
A solid, consistent wall-like thing is slowly put together over the next couple of years.
Oh, years?
Yes.
Oh, I would have assumed it all would have gone a lot faster than that.
To be fair, I don't mean like the solid concrete wall thing. It took them years to build. I mean, the thing was always being developed. They were always replacing the barbed wire, always building new sections, building new guard towers and whatnot along it.
That makes sense. Were there any doors into?
To the best of my knowledge, there was one gateway in and out through the Berlin Wall, and that was it.
Whoa, so Western Berlin really was crazy isolated.
Yes.
But they had airstrips.
They had an airport.
Was that basically their only way out?
Yes.
Holy cow. Like,
well, okay, I shouldn't say that. That was their only way out to go directly to other free countries.
Yeah.
There were trains and buses and whatnot that would still go in between East and West Berlin, but when you got on your western side station and then you went to an eastern side station, there were guards there. I remember one tourist I talked to. She was visiting West Berlin. She had no intention of going into of vacationing or spending any of her time in East Berlin, but she did decide to take the train. She was just going to do round trip through it. While she was on the eastern side, she was taking pictures. She's a tourist. That's what you do. The way that she told me the story, apparently a soldier noticed, walked onto the train, confiscated her camera and her passport.
Ooh.
She did not get either of them back before the train took off and brought her back to West Berlin.
But she did get home.
Yeah, she got home.
Oh my gosh, I thought she was going to be stuck in East Berlin.
But you got to imagine that woman was terrified. She was probably terrified enough when the soldier was there, and terrified still that dude just walked off with my passport.
Well, that just reminds me of, like, if you visit the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, like, they're so strict. Like, especially there's this building, I can't remember what it's called, but this building, like, in the middle of the DMZ, and, like the door, like, halfway through the building, like, you could go to Northern Korea, but only within this building, because you walk to the other half of the room. Like, they're so strict, like, you can't take pictures, like...
Yep, I have heard of this.
Crazy, and guys with guns are there to enforce it. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And this is one of the problems that tourists sometimes face, or that anybody ignorant of geopolitical matters sometimes faces. There are plenty of countries out there that I know that, at least in the media, this gets portrayed for Americans all the time, but this is true of people all around the world. A lot of people, we tend to take our way of life, our freedoms and whatnot for granted, and we go to other countries completely oblivious to the idea that they don't have the same freedoms and whatnot. Or even if they do have some of our same freedoms, those freedoms don't always apply to tourists.
Oh, yeah.
And they could easily get themselves and wind up in jail forever because of something that to you and I would seem ridiculous. Like, why would they throw you in jail for that? But they do.
Right.
And,
that makes me scared to travel.
And I know it probably is not going to make me too many fans out there in the world, but I'm among those that think that, okay, when that happens, I'm in favor of leaving those people in those countries as jails.
Ooh.
If it was a
Hot
case,
take.
if it was a case of targeted, like I don't know, what's a good example? If we have reason to believe that, something as small as like jaywalking. In that case, I'm in favor of the local country saying that, all right, come on, that was an obvious one for them to for somebody to mistake or to do
they didn't know they couldn't cross there.
Yeah, but like I'm talking about the more serious ones. Like I remember back when I was a kid, I read a story about, I think it was some other kid was in Thailand, I think it was, and he was throwing rocks at cars. They arrested him. They were going to cane him. It was a big international story, and people were desperate for Clinton, I believe it was Clinton, to do something, get that boy out of there so that they don't cane this kid. And I remember thinking to myself, even the kid I was at the time, thinking, no, he knows that you don't do that. You don't even do that in America.
No.
You know that's wrong. So let them punish him.
Yeah, sometimes consequences are necessary.
And to my mind, now as an adult, to my mind, it's disrespectful for us to do that. Yeah. I totally understand we want them to be brought home. We don't want them to languish in a prison, where in a country where we know prisons are not nice and clean and safe like they are here, or to be punished for rules that they didn't know about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're disrespecting another nation if our citizens don't obey its laws. If our citizens basically go to a country, break a law, and they say, well, there's nothing you can do about it, I'm going home.
Yeah, it gets complicated. Yeah. Well, that's a fun tangent and way to end.
So I think we started that tangent by just me saying the Berlin Wall did not go up overnight. There was a barrier that went up overnight. And amongst other things, roads were like destroyed during that night. But solid concrete wall surrounding the city did not go up overnight. Oh,
that's a cool story, though.
It is a cool story.
Wow. All right. Well, I think that's probably enough for today.
Good, because my throat is killing me.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've run a marathon. Thank you for
How
listening.
much talking did you do? One.
It was brain work.
When I say woman, this is a running gag that my wife and I have between us. This is not really me being a
misogynistic pig.
Yeah, her words.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, then please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us a 5-star review.
If you'd like to hear a future episode with more information about today's topic, why I can't possibly imagine since we talked a lot about this, contact us on Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Married to History Pod.
Also, please contact us if you have a silly question idea or if there's something from history that you would love to learn about.
I don't know. I think I'm silly questioned out for the moment. But in any case, just be sure to specify in your message if it's silly or serious, because we don't want to treat a genuine quest for knowledge as a joke.
Talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye. You don't sound very happy or upbeat.
I never do. I have to save my excited voice for the pod.
So you admit you're performing a character?
No, it's like the mom phone voice. I'm waiting for that motorcycle outside to be quiet.
Oh, okay.
I can still hear it. Okay.
Are we going to do the intro again as well, or are you just going to like cut and paste that?
No, we're doing the intro again because this is a new episode.
So yes, this is me venting about the fact that she's going to make me do 2 episodes back to back right in a row here.
Wow.
It's not that I don't like talking about it, but like my voice is sore and whatnot.
Oh, I'll get a sip of water before we start.
I think I'm almost out of. No, I am out of water. Can I yell at the kids to go get me some more, or is that going to be bad for the podcast?
No, because they'll take forever. All right. Welcome to I can't start with you like giggling in the background. Sorry. No, you're fine. I should have waited.
Unprofessional of me.
I should have waited. Welcome to.
Honk.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was fun. Okay, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.